Hey Tony, this video is for you, pal. This is your Empire Strikes Back Graflex 2.5. Just finished up wiring it and loaded up the sound fonts and boot sounds that you had requested. And I thought we'd just do a quick rundown on video here of what you got here and what we did. So, starting off with a Graflex 2.5. Much nicer than the Graflex 2.0 as far as the plating goes. You can definitely see a much improved plating. There are some spots, the bunny ears are a little rough still. You haven't quite figured that out yet. But to be honest, some of the higher end Graflexes also have that issue in the plating on the bunny ears. I don't know if it's a different type of metal or I'm not sure. This is a much improved version of the one that I had sold on eBay before in a couple aspects. One, this is a red button activation instead of the clamp card. This is a much more sturdier, a lot more work is involved in this, but it's also a more sturdy and a more effective way of switching between things. You've got, I'm hoping this camera's focusing for me, but it's probably not. You've got the clamp card here with the silver tracers. That is from a sloth furnace. And you'll see how everything's lined up nice. You have your D-ring and your grip and your clamp, and it's all offset down the side, which should be. Also have the nice blade plug in there, which really gives it that Graflex look. And the other great thing we did with this saber, I did a much deeper blade socket this time. I was able to find more room. The more of these I do, the better I'm getting at cramming some of this stuff in here. So I was able to find a little more room in here, and the LED is actually sitting pretty far back, and I'll show you. This is your retention screw for your blade. You'll pinch the bunny ears. That nice blade plug will come out. That's obviously included with the saber. And if you look down here, let's see if we can see it. Yeah, you can see that's pretty way down there. So this is the 7/8 inch blade holder. You will need a 7/8 inch blade for that. I think we'll put that back in real quick. And I think I'll show you the internals and how to open and close, charge, and all that good stuff. So the clamp card is screwed into place. So the clamp won't move. It's not meant to move. If it doesn't, that screw has to be tightened back up. But so you just unlock your clamp, get a nice firm grip on the front end of the saber, and just twist and turn the other side of the saber. Twist and kind of pull at the same time, and there's a lot of thread, so it takes a little while for it to get off. You'll pull it off, and it'll just slide right off. So you have your Nano Biscotti version 4 sound card, soundboard with a SD card installed. Your kill key recharge port is right there. That comes with the charger. That will just be this right here. That actually has a red and green LED light to show you when it's charged and when it's not charged. Charged would be green. When it's charging, it'll be red. Some of the accuracy mods that we did on this, we used all KR Sabers accurate screws to replace the, for some reason Corbeth keeps coming out with these Allen head screws. We even went ahead and did the rivet on the bunny ears, which I think is a huge improvement. I went ahead and used the button and blade retention button from an 89 Sabers Graflex, which is actually a new company out now, and very, 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 very accurate. I actually like the way they do their switch, and that's why I did that. So the brass pins come with the Saber kit, but the connector strips don't. So I had to modify some KR Saber strips that were for a vintage Graflex. So they don't actually run through all the way, but they're there nonetheless, and they still look pretty cool. So so there's your 2-watt 8-ohm bass speaker there. You've got an 18650 lithium ion battery in there, rechargeable battery. I mentioned the Pico Crumble. The Nano Biscotti version 4, which has the 3 sound banks on it. And we are switching on the red button activation. So, the kill key. Where's the kill key? Where is the kill key? Here's the kill key. The kill key. Now, the kill key for the recharge port is really, if you're storing it for a long time and you're not using it much, then I recommend you pop the kill key in. It just keeps the battery from draining, and it actually cuts the circuit to the battery, so it actually is for protection, and it just saves the life of the battery as well. So, the battery is not meant to be. Yeah, so when you pull the kill key out, every time you pull the kill key out, you'll hear a boot up sound from whatever font was logged on first. So that's your internals right there. I'm hoping this shows up real good on the camera. You can see there's a little bit of glue residue here. The battery, I had an issue with the battery shaking around because I did dual with this a little bit to test it out, and I had an issue with the battery shaking, and it was causing some false clashes and some false swings. So I just put a couple dabs of glue down on the battery on the chassis that hold it in place. So now it's not rattling around anymore. Other than that, it's really solid. Nothing's going anywhere. I'm gonna screw this back on now. One thing to remember is this isn't perfect. I mean, these things are meant to be a little tight, so make sure that you don't. If you're gonna get some resistance when you're going in here. Once it actually wears down, it actually gets easier to use. It's easier to screw in. But again, get a firm grip on the front end. I wouldn't grab it by the clamp, only because you just don't want to move that clamp around. But to get a nice, grip on the front, and I'll show you wider focus. Get a grip on the front, and just go ahead and screw that in. Takes a little while because it's very fine thread, and I think we'll get to where right about there, where we have our lineup again. We have the clamp with the grip and your D-ring, and then we can lock this. You'll feel it lock pretty tight. So there you have it. So, having said that, let's check it out. So we've got the red button activation, and we'll just fire it up. This is a blue, white tri-crease, so you'll get the blue. It's a pale blue that, not quite the Arctic blue that you would see on A New Hope, but more of the Empire Strikes Back. Pale blue, I like the blue, white on this. There's 8 clash sounds and 8 swing sounds for each sound bank. So, very sensitive to the swing. You can hear that D-ring bouncing around in there. If you'd like, I can try and get that a little, maybe put some rubber or plastic or something in there. Maybe I can get that tighter from swinging around, but I would leave it alone if I was you. I just think it's more accurate. These aren't the most accurate hilts, but they're pretty damn close when you put all the extra work into them. Okay, so we'll power that down, and we'll move on to the next font. And by doing that, you just hold down. 1 beep. 2 beeps, let go.
I'll never join you.
That's the I'll never join you from Luke. There's a little deeper Graflex sound. Hear that rumble in there. Very cool. You actually get a better clash from the blade when the blade's installed, which I will do. I'll demo for you. And then we move on. By the way, mute is 1 beep. So if you would just hold it down for 1 beep, and that would be your mute. And there you go. So you have a silent saber there. And just hold it down again to get out of it. Okay, so press the button. Hold for the 2nd beep.
Do or do not. There is no try.
That's a really cool beep. Very similar. The first two are very similar in sound. The clashes are a little different. The Bespin font, I believe, is the one with Darth Vader. Yeah.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
Fire it up. Yeah, I love that sound. If you listen to the clashes, you'll hear like a slight difference in all the sound fonts, but you'll hear like a big explosion clash there. Some very cool stuff. So I'll show you how to put the blade in right now. This is pretty easy. So never take this off. You'll never want to take the top one off. You'll never want to unscrew any of this because the switch is wired to that, and it's built in such a way to where if you unscrew this or try to take it off, you'll rip the switch right out, and the repair would just be too much. So you don't want to do that. So let's loosen this up. You don't have to take it all the way out. Sometimes that can be a pain in the butt to put back in, actually, when you take them all the way out. And we'll just pinch the ears to get the blade plug to fall out. And I have a little blade here for demo. Hey Tony, it's Brian. So we're back with your Empire Strikes Back Graflex here. I just figured we'd show off the brightness of the blade, some of the swing motions, and some of the clashes so that you get an idea of what you're getting here. I'm also going to take some really good pictures and send them to you tonight. If not tonight, tomorrow I'll get to it. But anyway, the install is done. This is really happy with it. So let's fire it up, man. Nice and bright. I have a short blade in here now. This is a 7/8 inch Vader's Vault blade. I recommend you get the same blade. The fact that I have the blade socket so deep is actually eating up almost 3.5, 4 inches of the blade. So it looks a little short. It should be out there somewhere, but anyway, you can see how nice and bright it is. Nice, great swing sounds, one-handed or two. Awesome. Here's different clashes. So that's one of the fonts there. I believe that was the Bespin font with Vader. We'll go through them all.
I'll never join you.
Yeah, it's got a little darker shade of the Graflex too. So that's really cool. And we have the Yoda.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Very similar to the original Graflex font. Killer Clash on Flash, or Flash on Flash. And really happy, man. Came out really nice. And we'll just cycle through that first one more time so you can hear that Vader.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker.
It's my favorite.
But you are not a Jedi yet.
Really cool. So anyway, you get the idea what it's going to look like, man. I hope you like it. Take care, buddy.